You guys are the terrific team.
Live from Los Angeles, BeTerrific shines the BeTerrific Spotlight on E3, only on the BeTerrific Network.
What's up, Terrifics? Welcome to your live continuing coverage of E3 2017 here in sunny Los Angeles, California, right outside the Los Angeles Convention Center, between kind of the Convention Center and the JW Marriott. We ran into Yost. He's the CEO of Superdata Research, and we're having a lot of fun here, and we're having a great time outside. And so, anyway, it is unbelievable here. E3 is amazing. The scene at the JW Marriott's crazy, and this was a set-up interview. We didn't just run into you, but you guys do data research, and it's pretty unbelievable because you do data research on every game, on every console, on every platform. So we're talking data research on the games, on the consoles, and on mobile and VR and everything. It's pretty cool.
That is very cool. It's a big year for all of those platforms, so it's an exciting show.
Yeah. 75 million paid gamers worldwide. Is that correct?
Yes.
And according to your research, about 275 million was spent on gaming last year in the United States of America, and 269 million euros in Europe.
It's a big number nowadays. Absolutely, absolutely. So the total games market globally is about 170 billion, and so the U.S. makes a big part of that. There's also China. There's also Russia. I mean, it's in a tremendously large market nowadays.
Yeah. And what do you think drives the video game market so much as far as spending? And we're not only talking about spending to buy the games. We're spending in the games now, and that's what surprises me.
What drives growth in the game space now is the fact that everybody is a gamer, right? So for the longest time, the industry is only focused on that one particular Cheeto dust-covered shooter game, aficionado. It turns out like everybody likes to play games, and so the industry started to make games for women, for girls, for older people, and so there's a much more diversity in the market, and it translates into revenue. So it's really, really fun to see that play out.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting. I kind of try to refuse to pay for things in the game.
Of course.
It's hard, though, sometimes. I have, on occasion, bought some stuff in real racing. I like real racing, especially on mobile. And I like airplaying it to my TV as well. But I also like consoles a lot. Now, I noticed that different games and different game categories really are popular on different things. So, according to your research, League of Legends is #1 on PCs. Yet FIFA 17, completely different game and different style of game, is what console players really like.
That's right.
And then on mobile, it's something completely different.
Clash of Clans, Clash Royale, yeah. So every game will be different based on how you play it, right? If you have a keyboard and a mouse, it's a very different setup than if you're on your phone standing in line somewhere at the grocery store. So as a consequence, people spend different too. So you can't ask people to spend $60 while waiting at the bus stop. They want to spend 99 cents. So right. They'll do it that way.
I think that's a good point. And then as far as like FIFA, though, what is interesting to me is soccer is probably the most popular sport worldwide. But it's surprising to me that video gamers cling on to sports as much as they do. I'm not saying I didn't expect to be in the top 5, but to be #1 on console gaming, I'm surprised. I would have thought it would have been a first-person shooter because that seems a little bit more universal, or something like a sim game.
That's true. It's sports games are really, really fun and very attractive in that sense. So FIFA is one of the big tickets, but also NFL Madden. There's NBA 2K. It's remarkable how well those sport franchises do. And I think ultimately that's what gamers really do, is they want to compete. And so if they can do that, then they'll play sports games.
How do sports games do on mobile? I wonder about that.
They do fine. It's not their best platform, if you will, because you have to have the ability to put in a lot of information. And it's a lot about momentum and fluidity of the gameplay. PC and especially console are really strong for that. Mobile a little less.
I feel like mobile gaming is a little bit more relaxing. I get really, really intense in console gaming and even PC gaming. I get very competitive. Mobile gaming, I feel like I do on my downtime and I relax. And I like games that are more relaxing. Like I love Mario Run on mobile.
That's a lot of times people sit on their couch or they're just kind of chilling in between things. There is a subcategory we've sort of labeled like toilet games. Like you just end up taking a big
I
big
play
dump
those like
and
3 times a day.
Right, so there you go. So the games, and that's so. But you don't want to be in that place and be stressed out. You want to do something relaxing. So it's more puzzle based or strategy focused, where you build something over time. You level up a character or you try to solve a puzzle.
And you play for 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, you come back to it.
Exactly.
As opposed to something like Madden, even on mobile, you have to play for 30 minutes.
You have to play, you have to sit through the sessions, but also, like, if you play an Uncharted, for instance, this big adventure game, you get drawn in, you need to know what happens in the next level and the next level. So it's it's like reading an exciting book, and you can't put it away.
What do you think of 4K gaming? 4K gaming, it seems like it's the next thing. 4K and VR. VR and 4K are really about the same place. Like, I think VR is maybe a little bit ahead of it. Last year was really the infancy of VR gaming. PlayStation has, I think, the best headset out there at the moment. But I think that 4K gaming is pretty amazing. We see it now with Xbox and PlayStation. And then I think it's just the next evolution, and then VR gaming. So with 4K gaming, how popular is that going to be? Or are people going to say, you know what, these consoles that I have that are 1080 and 720, they're good enough, we'll wait?
It's going to be exactly that. They're going to wait and see. What's cool about 4K gaming is that it's fantastic. It looks amazing. You can do all the stuff that you can't do before. And that's ultimately, of course, what gets a lot of people excited. Is like it just looks fantastic. It's a very tough sell in the sense is that, people don't go to the store and say, like, oh, what console should I buy? Well, which is the one 4K? They say, which one has this game on it? But people buy hardware by the title. So that's a harder thing to do. Plus, you also need to have a 4K TV to make it all work. So if you scale it in that sense, today it's going to be a little slow out of the gate, but both of the platforms, both Sony and Microsoft, are making big bets on it, thinking this is going to be a huge thing, and that's always driven console as an industry.
Well, and the nice thing that I think at least Xbox is doing is that you can play the older games on the Xbox One X, which is 4K. They might not be 4K when you play them, but you certainly can play them still. Whereas in a lot of cases, you couldn't play older games on newer consoles, and vice versa. Now Xbox One X, you can buy a 4K game and play it on the Xbox One or the Xbox One S. Which is pretty smart and amazing. And it helps ease the transition, I think. But that's one of the things I think hurts the Nintendo Switch that you mentioned is people want titles. And you go to the Switch, and there aren't that many titles out yet, but they're selling it like crazy.
Yes. So I'll disagree with you in this case. The Switch is doing tremendously well. They've only really had one title people cared about, and they sold 102%. Of Zelda copies, right? So for every unit that the Switch sold,
I don't care about at all.
Yeah,
by the way.
So that's where we disagreed in, right? It's the Zelda game. They sold more copies of the actual game than they sold units of the Switch. That's how popular it was. People had to have it. They had to save it or gift it to their friends. So they just went over the board with this. Nintendo does that really well. They make a cool platform. They make cool experiences and games that work with the platform. So you see now with Mario Odyssey. You see now with Splatoon. You see now with the expansions of Zelda. People love that stuff. They'll eat it up.
What I am excited about with the Switch is the games that are the old NES classic games and SNES and even 64, the Cube 64s that are going to come to the Switch, I think are amazing.
Yes. And we saw that with the sales of the NES Classic, right? So, they sold that out like hotcakes, and then now they have the SNES, the Super Nintendo Classic coming out, and people are already basically lining up around the store. So that works really well. That's what Nintendo is known for. That's what we all love.
But does it ever frustrate customers? I mean, you couldn't get the NES Classic. I don't know why they even stopped selling it. They were selling so many. Then you're not going to be able to get the SNES Classic.
Right.
And then in addition to that, you are fighting for the Switch.
Right. So there's a lot of things to say about Nintendo and its rollout strategy. It's not always clear to people, but what they always sort of stay loyal to is quality content. I think what they want you to do is like focus on the Switch in the future, because the Classic obviously is very exciting and people want to buy it, but what's the playtime value of that? Are you going to spend 300 hours doing that, or do you want to look into the future?
Now, how do you track the Switch? Because it's half console and half mobile.
Well, I would define the Switch more as a portable, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people confuse it as a console, and it's not really. Like, I think it's, they've combined the console and the portable space for themselves, and now we see, Nintendo dominated that category.
How did you start Superdata research?
I got a little frustrated with the stuff that was out there. I was working as a gun-for-hire analyst and finishing my doctorate, and said, I can do this better myself. So, I built a data set, built a team, here we are.
It's pretty amazing. Everybody uses your data for their gaming platforms and everything. How is VR set up?
VR is for the future. It's set up really strong. It's it's a bit of a pie in the sky technology that people have this idea that it's going to be this great promise, but we have yet to deliver. One of the problems is content. So what's hard is to make experiences last longer than 20 minutes without people losing their mind, and so that's still kind of like a learning curve for a lot of the industry. But we're starting to see some really smart people from Hollywood and the games industry kind of coming together to build that. The next step after that is, of course, the actual hardware being in the hands of people. So we've done some forecasts. We talked to a lot of conferences, people at conferences, and we're learning that they're learning as we go, and so it's an open dialogue currently, which is exactly where it needs to be.
Awesome company, awesome research, and you're an awesome guy. Thank you, Joost. Superdataresearch.com. We've got a lot more from E3 2017, so stay with us. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. You guys are the terrific team.
Live from Los Angeles, BeTerrific shines the BeTerrific Spotlight on E3, only on the BeTerrific Network.